So I
But
guess
I
I'll
think-
call,
Yeah, we have
I
a
don't-
quorum.
we do have a quorum.
Yeah.
I will call the meeting to order and ask Stephanie if she would call the roll.
Okay, Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
Yes.
Chris,
Here.
Peter.
Yes.
And
Good.
Fred just signed on.
And
Oh.
Fred.
Hello.
Ah, he is there. Okay.
All right, we got Fred.
No visual, but we have him. Let me guess, Fred, are you in the car?
No.
No?
I'm about to it right now. Hey.
There we
Ah,
go.
there he is. Okay. So the first item we have is petition ID number 6119 for determination of applicability for Pan Am Railways spray, no spray, limited spray zone confirmation on the right-of-way maintenance.
Yep. So the consultant on this one couldn't attend tonight, so I just told him I'd open up the hearing. So this is just, we actually just did this with CSX our last meeting. I think all of these kind of get renewed on the same schedule. So their 5 years is up. They're just having the commission go through the process of reconfirming those sensitive spray zones. And it was the typical thing, you know, along their right of way. They actually physically have the rails or sections next to the rails marked with colors, so the spray applicators know when to stop. And I don't know if it was the consultant himself, but so basically like a monitor will be in the truck when they're doing the spraying to, you know, confirm that they're hitting those zones. So they've made no changes to those areas. So basically we will just, I think it would be issue a positive too, but with the, I guess it's a good time to do our COVID protocol with our remote meetings. Recording of this will be made public. And if anyone from the public would like to comment or air concerns, they can do so by emailing me at kchafee@springfieldcityhall.com or 413-787-6234. So the protocol would be to continue the meeting unless there's any questions or discussion.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for reading that. And as Kevin said, that the state protocol is for us to continue this until the next meeting to allow time for public input if there is any. Are there any questions or concerns of any of the members before we make a motion to continue? Hearing none. Does someone want to make a motion to continue this to the next meeting?
I make a motion that we continue the Pan Am Railways until the next meeting.
Okay, so
Second.
second. Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Is that Peter who seconded?
That was Peter, yeah.
Roll, Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. On the continued items, notice of intent for Big Y tree and fence maintenance, Kevin?
Yep, we got Dan here, I think, who's going to open up the comments and give us a little update.
Certainly. Good evening, Dan Nitchie with GZA representing Big Y Foods. Also, Jacqueline Claver's on the phone as well. She was putting together the notice of intent for this. So as we talked at the last time, this is a project primarily to remove downed trees and large limbs that have been damaging the perimeter fence, primarily along the section of the Big Y property that's adjacent to Cottage Street. And it's probably a 300 or 400 foot sort of length area. Since the last meeting, we've also had a walk out there with the city forester. to talk about a few live trees that are between the fence and the road itself, that are leaning out over the road, that are creating hazards for the truck traffic, also dropping limbs in the road, that type of thing. So, so we met out there. They're going to work with the Big Y, the forester with the Big Y, to get that agreement arranged of exactly which trees. It turns out to be about 5 trees. We flagged them in the field. I think we showed you folks pictures of that last time. If you want to see them again, we can bring them up. But then since then, we just added, just today, I added to the application a maintenance plan, which is very simple. That what it's really asking is, can Big Y for the next 5 years keep an eye on the fence line, 5 feet both sides of the fence line, to really take the vines off and some of the invasive species that are growing along there. There's no intention to be removing trees on any basis. If a large limb falls down in the fence, we'll let you know. Part of that program, a part of that plan was included the frequency. Primarily, it'll be probably about once a month. They'll walk down along the fence line during the growing season to take care of the vines, the bittersweet basically that's growing on the fence line, and just cut them off at the ground so that that doesn't become a problem over time. And then if there's branches that fall down or large limbs, or if there's damage, we'll let you know 72 hours before they do any work. No work is to happen inside the wetland. It can only happen within the buffer zone. And it's really primarily from the fence to Cottage Street. That strip of land that's along there is what the goal is for the long term. And they'll come back for 3-year updates in 4 years and 11 months from now, to 30 days in advance of the expiration. They'll ask for a 3-year extension to that. So that's
Dan, are we waiting for additional information or identification, or is everything in at this point?
I think everything's in. Kevin, do you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I wanted, we had discussed the maintenance plan aspect of it at the last meeting, but I just wanted it physically in hand, and Dan submitted that. So now it can go into the file. And then basically, like you said, it's the minor stuff will just happen regularly. Anything major will be contacted prior, but it'll be covered under the maintenance agreement rather than filing a new notice to do basically what you're proposing
right now. Exactly. Yeah. And again, no resource impact. There's no proposal to go inside the resource. It'll strictly be along the fence line, which is buffer zone, as we saw in the plan.
Yeah.
And so it still would have a lifespan, excuse me, of 5 years. So you've got to put a tickler in there for Big Y to get to seek a renewal at that point.
Yes. Yeah. You can grant the 5-year the first time, but only 3 years from that point on. Although this is bylaw only, so I'm not sure if your bylaw or the ordinance has a provision that allows for 5-year extensions. The Wetlands Protection Act would only give us 5 years first year, and then you can only get 3 after that. It's an oddity in the regulations are written.
I'd have to review it again, but basically there's a clause in the bylaw that if not expressly written, that we sort of revert to the state regs. And I've always kind of interpreted that as, even in the carrying out of our bylaw, we would treat it the same as the state regs. We would just assume that it was jurisdictional and then use the state regulations. So
yeah, as far as their timing, their
validity
time frame. Yeah, that's fair. That seems fair. So yeah, first round is 5 years, and then every 3 years or 2 years and 11 months, we have to request an extension to that, or Big Y does. Yeah. Yeah, the burden to stay on top of it so that they don't lose that, or they'll be filing another permit to do the work.
Which is very often, unfortunately, the case for people.
I know. Yeah, we'll do what we can to encourage them to let us remind them. I mean, everyone's doing it now. It's like, put it on your calendar. Let us know in 3 years that you have to do this. It's a lot easier than it used to be to remember those long-term things.
Excellent. Are there any questions from the commission members? Then if hearing none, does someone want to make a motion to close the public hearing? Oh, Kevin, there were no comments from the public. I'm sorry.
Nope. not a controversial project.
I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing for Big Y.
Thank you, Peter. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Oh, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Who seconded?
You did
I guess we'll
Clarence.
give it to Clarence.
Clarence? Okay, roll. Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Kevin, do you want to do the
Yeah.
order? Or-
Basically, it'll be a standard order. Some, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, a small portion would be inside the 50-foot
Yes.
buffer. So just by virtue of where the road is. So the only two special additions to the special conditions would be that the commission is allowing work within the 50-foot for maintenance of hazardous trees. And the second would be approving the 5-year maintenance plan.
And the enhancement, although I don't know whether it's put in there, obviously is controlling bittersweet is an enhancement
Yeah.
for the area. Controlling the invasive species, so.
And they're very happy along that fence line.
Are you making note of that, Kevin, as that's the reason
Yep.
for us allowing within? Thank you.
It was specific in the request, Chris, on the maintenance plan, as we identified certain species that are along that line.
Yeah, but what probably wasn't done, it's been a while since I read it, was usually we say, tell us what the enhancement is for getting inside the 50. That's
That's true.
why I'm doing it within the meeting to say
Thank you.
that that is the enhancement and get it as part of the record. Okay, is there a motion to issue the order as read by Kevin?
I'll make a
I'll make
motion
a motion. Good, Fred.
by Kevin.
I think Fred made it, and is there a
Clarence
second?
seconded?
Clarence is seconding.
I'll second. Clarence will second.
Okay, that would be Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
yes,
Chris,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
thank you. Thank you, Dan and Jacqueline.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Two.
Bye.
Item B is Fairhaven Drive. Kevin, are we,
We haven't reached an agreement yet,
okay.
so just keeping it on there.
So 4 is a request for certificate of compliance for 7 Nordica Street.
So I'm trying to remember who on the commission, if anyone has been added to the commission after this. We dealt with this property for quite a while. There was a history of a violation where they kind of clear cut down pretty close to the edge of wetland without a permit. The intent at the time was to have a small subdivision of houses, but that never happened. So we went through the enforcement action. There was actually some fines associated with it. Eventually, and actually Dan Nietzsche, who just signed off, worked on it. We got a restoration plan submitted by the owner of the property at the time. They did a sort of massive planting plan and erosion control plan that was implemented. And then we did several seasons of monitoring to ensure that 75% of the vegetation took and was thriving. So we went through all of that, and the enforcement action was basically officially over. Since then, the property has changed hands. Actually, I think a teacher from the Springfield school system and her husband bought the property and had been living there for years. But during that transaction, the order of conditions was never closed out and apparently didn't show up in the title research. So
Wow.
those people, I believe, have been the only owners of it since the person who did the violation. They are now selling that property, and it came up during the title research. So they are requesting a certificate of compliance. And so typically we require a letter stating compliance in an as-built plan, but since this was a restoration plan, I wanted to discuss with the commission if we are comfortable with what is already documented on file. Because we had monitoring reports from Dan Nietzsche for several seasons. We've got the planting plan, and it did sort of take, and now there's been multiple years of just natural growth back there that they have stayed out of that buffer area. No disturbances happened in that area.
Was there a deed restriction in that order, Kevin?
You know, that's the one thing I didn't look at today. I had it on my list, and I don't think I looked at the special conditions. If memory serves, there wasn't, but I can look at that before if you would rather wait to issue the.
I'd be okay with voting to issue, with you checking to see if there was a restriction, and if it was filed,
Okay.
then you could go ahead and issue it.
And if one was not required, I can still continue to issue it.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, that works for me.
much better title searcher this time found it.
Yeah, apparently.
So what happens if you buy a house and that doesn't come up in the title search? You didn't know about it when you bought it. Are you responsible?
If there's outstanding stuff.
I see that head shaking down there.
You're responsible, and if there was any physical damage, you'd go after your title searcher for not finding it and making you aware of it.
But isn't that the bank that does the title search?
Not all the time.
Not always.
Yeah.
That's why it's always important to have title insurance
Oh.
to cover things.
So like before you buy a house then?
Well, during the closing with your lawyer, you would have title insurance placement. It's a one-time cost. So if something like that was to come up, which it could, your title insurance company would pay that.
Yeah, because the one on Nordica Street, that was a big deal. I mean, they could have. Wow, that's interesting that didn't come up, because that wasn't just a little thing.
No, it was big.
It was big.
And based on the conduct of the person who owned it, it doesn't surprise me that he didn't bring it up during the sale, but it is surprising that the buyers didn't find it. Because I actually had to record that myself. He wouldn't record it at the registry. I went to the registry and paid the $75 and recorded the order of conditions. I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
Wow, he wouldn't record it?
We had, it was like communication breakdown. He didn't say one way or the other, but it just kept lagging. And then I believe someone from our law department said, we have the right, since we issued it, that I could go down and record that order of conditions since it's a legal document. It's the only one in the however many years, 13 years I've been here. Only time I ever had to do that.
And that's why title searching is so important, because if the person who bought it wasn't interested in just living there, but was interested in, oh, I can divide this off and make some,
Yeah,
and they never found that. The cycle would have started all over again.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to issue the certificate of compliance subject to Kevin verifying that if there was a deed restriction, it was filed, but if there wasn't, that he can just issue?
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance, subject to Kevin's research.
I'll,
I'll second that.
Thank you, Juanita.
1 second, I'm just still writing.
No problem.
Okay, roll. Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Fred.
yes.
Thank you. The next item is the acceptance of the minutes for the March 9th. Is there, I don't think there's any corrections because Stephanie obviously always sends it out to us ahead of time, and if we have corrections, we can submit them. So is there a motion to accept the minutes from the March 9th meeting?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, roll. It would be Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Very good. Let's hope that this stretch of nice weather continues. It was gorgeous out there today.
oh, it was. It was.
Beautiful.
All
So,
right.
having gone through the agenda, Kevin, there was nothing else on the agenda, so.
No,
okay.
it's a quick one.
A motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Roll. Clarence,
Yes.
Juanita,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Nice
Thank
short
you.
22-minute meeting.
Yeah, thank you.